Hello guys, hope you're doing great. Today inshallah we're going to continue where we stopped last time. We're going to finish unit 3 in the ODI. So I need you all to open your books, page 41 as you can see. Last time we started talking about different genres of science and the names of the scientists. What do we call them and what do they do? Today, inshallah, we're going to move to something different. We're talking about, as you can see here, types of plants. Okay. It says here, read and match the text with the photographs. We have here 4 paragraphs that gives us 4 different pieces of information about these 4 pictures, and our job is to read them, then try to match them with the right picture. So it says here types of plants. Botanists study many types of plants. Some plants are small and simple. Other plants, like trees, can be very big and tall. Number 1 here, we're talking about mosses. Mosses are small, simple plants. They often grow on rocks. Mosses have got tiny leaves and they don't produce any seeds. They produce tiny spores that become new plants. Okay, let's look at the pictures here. Which of them is tiny leaves that grow on rocks? You're correct. It's picture C. Okay, so let's move to the second part. Ferns, something called ferns. Ferns grow much taller than mosses. They often grow in forests. Ferns have got long leaves called fronds. Ferns are similar to mosses because they produce spores. Okay, so now they are taller than mosses, they grow in forests, and they have long leaves called fronds, and they produce spores. Spores is like baby plants that grow into plants later. So which picture do you think it is? Exactly, it's picture A. These are the ferns here. These green leaves here. Okay, number 3, we have something called conifers. Conifers are bigger than ferns, so we're talking about something bigger than these leaves here. They have got thin leaves called needles, so I think they are sharp because they are called needles. Conifers are different from ferns and mosses because they produce seeds. The seeds are inside hard cones. So, which plant do you think has pointed leaves called needles? Exactly, picture D here. It's so sharp and pointy. Okay, and the last one here, flowering plants. They are special because they produce flowers and seeds. Some flowering plants also produce fruit. Farmers around the world grow many types of flowering plants. It's so obvious here. We have the flowers, so this is picture B. Okay, here we have a piece of information. Did you know the tallest plants in the world are redwood trees? Some redwoods are more than 100 meters tall. Okay, now to know better about these kinds and types of plants, let's watch some pictures of them. Okay, now here, these are the mosses as you can see. Can you see them? They are really green, they are really short, and we can find them on rocks, on the ground. They grow everywhere. It's so clear here. It's so obvious. At the bottom of the tree and on the ground, it's so green. So these are the mosses. Okay. Now, let's try to find ferns. Instead of mosses, let's write ferns. There they are. Can you see the leaves? They are bigger than mosses actually, as we can see them here. They are so common. I think we all know them. There they are. These are the ferns. Okay, now let's find some conifers. These are the conifers here. They are the pine trees, actually. Do you know the pines? These ones? These are the conifers. As you can see here, we have the pines. Okay. And the last one was flowering plants. We have many shapes, of course, many flowers here. And as they mentioned in the text, sometimes some fruits grow out of these plants and the farmers use them. Okay, in the information here in Did You Know, they mentioned that they said that the tallest plants are redwoods or the redwood trees. So let's watch them together. There they are. They are huge actually. Can you see this? Can you see how huge it is compared to people? Look at this one here. How many people are around it? And it can get really high. So it can reach up to 100 meters high. Okay, let's go back to the unit now, to the book, and let's answer some questions regarding what we read. Number one here, it says, of course, true or false, or I don't know. Number one, mosses are small plants that produce tiny seeds. So let's go back here. Mosses, they are small, of course, and they said here they have tiny leaves, but they produce tiny spores, not leaves. So number one, what do you think it will be? It's false, of course. Number two, ferns have got leaves, but they don't produce spores. Okay, ferns, let's check it. Ferns, they have long leaves here. Ferns are similar to mosses because they produce spores. So they do produce them. So, of course, number two here is false. Number three, conifers produce hard cones with seeds inside them. Let's read about conifers here. They are thin leaves, they are different from ferns, and they produce seeds. The seeds are inside hard cones. So it's true. Number three is true. Number four, the biggest, tallest plants in the world are conifers. Is that true? No, it's right here, redwood tree. So number four is false. Number five, farmers collect fruit from some flowering plants. Exactly, it's correct. It's mentioned here. Farmers around the world grow many types of flowering plants, and they said right before it, some flowering plants also produce fruit. So it's true. Okay, here these are some questions that you can ask each others. Which types of plants have you seen? Do you eat any seeds for snacks? What types of fruit do you like? Each one is going to answer according to his own experience, of course. Okay, now let's move to page 42. Page 42, everyone. It says here, read and answer. Which of these scientists has won a Nobel Prize? These are famous scientists. We have four of them here. Let's read about each one and see together which one has won a Nobel Prize. The first person here is called Frederick Moss. He was born in 1773 and he died in 1839. Do your math and you can know how old was he when he died. Frederick Moss was a geologist, and right as we explained before, the word geologist means a scientist who studies earth and rocks maybe. It says here he studied different minerals to see how hard they were. Then he invented the Mohs scale of hardness. So he invented a scale to measure how hard the mineral is. One of this new scale, the hardest mineral was diamond. So when they tried to use the scale, the hardest mineral discovered at that time was diamond. Moss gave it a perfect score of 10 points. So that was the hardest mineral at that time. Okay, let's move to the second scientist here. Her name is Marie Curie. She was born in 1867 and died in 1934. Marie Curie was a world famous scientist. She received 2 Nobel Prizes for her work in physics and chemistry. So she was a physicist and a chemist. Marie and her husband Pierre discovered 2 radioactive materials. They called the materials polonium and radium. So that's why she won 2 Nobel Prizes. She discovered 2 radioactive materials. Okay, let's move to the third scientist here. His name is Frederick Banting. He was born in 1891 and died in 1941. Frederick Banting was a scientist and medical doctor. He discovered a new medicine for diabetes called insulin. If you know any member of your family or any friend who has diabetes, you can ask them about their medicine. It's called insulin. Without this medicine, they would really suffer. So, this man invented that medicine. In 1923, Banting received the Nobel Prize for medicine. His important work has helped many people who have diabetes. Of course, he saved many lives because of his invention. It was something great. The fourth scientist is Maria Mitchell. She was born in 1818 and died in 1889. Maria Mitchell was the first female astronomer in the United States. So the science that she loved was astronomy. She learned astronomy from her father. In 1847, Mitchell saw a new comet with her telescope. She received a gold medal prize from the King of Denmark. So, did she receive a Nobel Prize? No, it was just a gold medal. Now, let's answer some questions. Number one, what is the score for diamond on Mohs scale? We said that it was the hardest mineral. So, who can remember the score? Exactly, it was 10 points. Great job. Number two, which radioactive materials were discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie? Who can remember their names? Let's go back to the paragraph here. Their names are polonium and radium. They are mentioned right here. Okay. Number three, what new medicine did Frederick Banting discover? The medicine that helped people who have diabetes all around the world. It was insulin. Exactly. Number four, who has Banting's discovery helped? When he discovered the insulin, who did he help? Which sick people who has what? Diabetes, exactly. Number five, what did Maria Mitchell receive from the King of Denmark? Did she receive a Nobel Prize? No, she received a gold medal. Thank you. Okay, if you know anything about these famous scientists or other scientists, you can share it with me or with your other teachers when you go back to school, inshallah. Now, let's go to the vocabulary booklet, list 3, and discuss it word by word together. Let's start with the nouns here. Here we have the name of the science itself, and in front of each science, we have the name of the scientist. The first word here is astronomy. Astronomy is the scientific study of the anything related to the solar system, actually, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, etc. Like the person who studies astronomy, what do we call them? Astronomer. As an astronomer is a scientist who studies astronomy. Okay, number 2, we have biology. It's the study of the life of plants and animals. Okay, if we have a scientist who is really interested in biology, what do we call them? Biologists. He is a scientist or she is a scientist who studies living organisms. Okay, Number 3, botany. We explained botany before and we said it's the study of plants. What do we call the scientist who studies botany? A botanist. He is a scientist or she is a scientist who studies plants. Number 4, geology. What is geology? It's the science that studies the history of Earth and rocks. If we have someone who studies geology, what do we call them? Geologists. Exactly. Number 5, we have zoology. It's coming from the word zoo, as we explained before, and it's the study of animals. And the scientist who is interested in zoology is a zoologist. The last science that we have here is oceanography, and this is the scientific study of the oceans. And if we have a scientist who's interested in oceanography, we call them oceanographer. Okay, let's continue the rest of the nouns now. We have the word university. Just a second. University here is, I just need to, okay. University here, this is the institution at the highest level of education. It's like the school, but it's actually bigger than this, higher than this. When you finish school, you go to the university. It's right after you finish your high school. Number 8, we have the word goggles. Goggles are a pair of glasses that fit closely to the face to protect your eyes. It can protect it from the wind or the dust or the water, or if you're having a chemical experiment or something, it can protect your eyes from whatever reactions that might happen. Okay. Now, number 9, we have the word beaker. We said before that the beaker is like a glass container and we use it to measure liquids in the lab. Number 10, the magnifying glass. Of course, it's really common and famous. We use it to make things look bigger than they really are. Now the verbs. Number 1, we have verb pour. To pour is to flow over the edge of a container. When you want to move something, especially liquid, from one container to another, you're pouring it. Like the example here, pour the sauce over the pasta. To spill. To spill something is to make it fall over by accident. Okay, the accident says the bag split and sugar spilled everywhere. It was everywhere accidentally, by accident. Number 3, weigh. To weigh something is to have a particular weight. How much do you weigh? It means I need to know your exact weight. 4, to invent. Inventing something is discovering something that hasn't existed before. When you discover something for the first time ever, it means you invented it. Number 5, we have produce. To produce things, it's to make things to be sold, especially in large quantities. Yani now I have a factory, and that factory produces some products. So it's making these things because I want to sell them later. Here, Dad has a factory that produces frozen foods. Number 6, lift. To lift something is to raise it. To raise something or somebody. I can have a box on the table and I lift that box to take it with me. Or like here in the example, I lifted the baby out of the chair. It's like I carried him. Okay. Now let's move to the classwork sheet. Choose the correct answer. Number 1, my swimming dots keep steaming up so I can't see. So what can steam and you cannot see from? Biology, geology, or goggles? Goggles, of course, this is the answer. Goggles. Number 2, she dots 100 kilos. She is overweight. So she weighs, exactly. She weighs 100 kilos, and that means she's overweight. She needs to lose some weight. Number 3, I wish mobile phones had never been what? Invented. Exactly, because it keeps wasting our time. Number 4, these farms dots bright red berries. Do the farms invent the berries or produce it or spill it? Produce it, of course. Great job. Number 5, he dots the suitcase from the rack. So what did he do to the suitcase? Did he produce it or lift it or poured it from the rack? Lifted it, of course. Number 6, she what boiling water down the sink? Did she burn the boiling water or she invent the boiling water or poured it? She poured it, of course. Okay, now exercise B. Write the field each scientist studies. Now, an astronomer is a scientist who studies. What does an astronomer study? Oceans, earth and rocks, celestial bodies, animals, plants, life of plants and animals. What does an astronomer do? Exactly, celestial bodies. So that should be right here. Okay, number 2. A zoologist is a scientist who studies. What does the zoologist study? Animals. Great job. It should be right here. A botanist is a scientist who studies plants. Excellent. An oceanographer is a scientist who studies, so simple, oceans, of course. A geologist is a scientist who studies earth and rocks. Exactly. And the last one, a biologist is a scientist who studies life, of course, of plants and animals. Okay. Now, the homework task is so easy. You have to fill in the blanks with words from the box here. Please do your homework and deliver it to your teacher next time you see her in class. Thank you so much for watching and hope you're doing great and see you again next time, inshallah. Thank you. Goodbye.